Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.
In here.
Brother Edward, you are muted. You've been muted the whole time.
Thank you.
Oh, they said I was muted the whole time. So my apologies for to our listeners. Good evening. I'm your host, Ed McQueen, and want to welcome you to our program today. You can see on the screen we got a host of beautiful people with some very good information and encouragement for this critical time in our lives. This is voting. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Again, we're gonna start the program. As usual, you don't want to miss this part by starting off with our condolences and our well wishes to all the people that in these different jurisdictions that we serve, local jurisdictions anyway, but we're worldwide. So condolences to everyone who has lost a loved one, and usually we start with our immediate jurisdictions, like alphabetically is Anna, Allentown, Homewood, Bucksport. Can everybody hear me? All of my guests hear me. Good?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We have Brother Tom. Yeah, you're muted there. Okay, all right. Okay, good. So look, I started to call out all the names, but in the time, we're going to get on with it, and I'd like to have each of you to introduce yourselves to our audience, to familiarize them with your where you're from and your name, and if you could kind of do it. I'd like to start clockwise. Okay, I'll start with you, Brother Tom Lattimore. Having issues with you hearing, Tom. Hearing you. What? Brother Thomas.
Tom, you may want to check your earplugs. You're sounding kind of Mickey Mouse-ish. So you could take those off or either change them out.
If you pull your earplugs out, Tom, Brother Thomas. You're having some difficulty there. We still can't.
Brother Edward, Tom, if you will, exit the stream and come back in, and then maybe that'll help, because he was fine a few minutes ago.
Yeah. We'll come back to him. Okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll go on to Brother Caleb over there.
Yes, this is Caleb Brown. Hello, everyone from Aner. I'm a 64 graduate from Whittemore, and I represent the Aner, Galveston Ferry, and Bayberry area.
Okay, and here. All right, good to have you, Caleb. I know there's a lot of interesting things going on out there in Aner, and you can you can encourage. We'd like for you to encourage all of your neighbors out there. So we'll get back to you, Mother Mary Moore.
Present. So happy to see all of you guys. You graduated from Whittemore, and I saw to it that you did with my hickory stick. I'm glad to be able to join you today in this auspicious occasion.
Right. All right. We're glad to have you. Certainly really glad to have you. You know, you're going to provide us with some good historical moments of voting and encouragement. So, Brother Lee down in Charleston, man, mighty Charleston.
It's good to be with all of you. I'm in North Charleston. They don't let me in Charleston.
All right. You like to make that distinction, yeah.
You got to keep that distinction. I'm in North Charleston and Dorchester County of North Charleston.
All
So
right.
it's good to be with all of you great folks.
Yes, sir. And Brother Lee, what is your role? I mean, if you have a company on your own, don't you?
Yeah, I run a consulting company, and also I was the lead plaintiff on one case that went to the U.S. Supreme Court against the county down here for the disenfranchisement of the African American community in 2004. And then in 2009, I was the plaintiff on another case for the voting rights that went to the U.S. Supreme Court also. So that's 2009. So I'm a community activist and civil rights activist, Desert Storm veteran.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Brother Kevin.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Kevin Mishu here, coming to you from the beautiful rural area of Bucksport, South Carolina. Graduate of Conway High, class of '82. And just want to thank you, Brother Edward, for giving me an opportunity to be on this great format, and it really has been instrumental in educating our community. So thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Okay, Brother Sam. We said Ronald, but Brother Sam Root.
Well, thank you for having me, and good to see everyone. Really good to see Mother Moore. I remember the guidance counselor at Whittemore High School. Graduated in 1967. Came to Virginia to attend college. Have been here ever since. Oftentimes I'm back and forth to Conway, but it's a great opportunity, great program, and I'm just glad to be here.
Good. We're glad to have you, brother.
Yeah.
Now we go all the way to Columbia there, Sister Mary Skinner Jones.
Okay, come right here.
No, just putting the top of the microphone.
Mary Skinner.
You can hear you.
Mary Skinner Jones. Yeah. You have to unmute your mic if you want to talk, okay? Okay, well, we'll come back when she gets straightened out here. But it seems like Tom straightened out right now, Brother Thomas.
Okay, good people. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Better? But God is good. God is always good. Well, I'm Tom Latimer. I was a class of 1968. And when I left Conway, I came up to Charlotte. And between Charlotte and Winston-Salem, 50 some years later, I'm still residing in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. And so we give you all well wishes and grace of God from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow, mighty Charlotte. Charlotte. So look, thanks so much for all of you joining us. And Mary, are you prepared? Are you Ms. Skinner Jones? Unmute your mic, okay? Unmute your mic. We can't hear you. You're saying something, but okay. At the bottom down there, you see it says unmute mic. All right. Okay, well, we can't hear what you're saying. We know you're saying something, but we'll come back, okay? So in order to just move forward here, I'd like to begin with just letting you all know that we're going to just be coming across with some statements and some questions and getting your thoughts on these statements and questions, okay? So as we did last week, we jotted down some questions and statements for your response and for our viewers' response. If our viewers would like to chime in, just send the comments on as you see on the side of your screen, and we'll certainly try to echo them ourselves. So just let me start by just asking this simple question. Do you remember the first time you voted, or remember what was happening in your life, or where you were when Black Americans gained the right to vote? So we'll start with kind of clockwise, okay, in order to make this equal, okay? So Caleb, let's start with you, brother.
I would say back in, you would say back in the 60s, when I remember back in the 60s, how it was then, and then later on, I moved away in the later 60s, and after I came out of service, I moved away to Connecticut. I came back here in 72, and then we saw a need at that time to get together, and we formed a group called the Ori Voters Registration and Education Committee, and we had groups from I think the Galloway sisters out of Nixonville. We had Marines out of Aner. We had the Bratchers out of Nixonville, and we had Brother Bobby McCrae from Conway, and I think Brother LaRue Galloway and some others. We came together and we saw a need that we need to educate our folks, and we started this group, and we did very well. We went into communities and we started registering people to vote. Now I was in my 20s then. Now I'm in the 70s, so I'm not doing as much these days.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
It's been a long time, but 30 years I've been active, but not again. Now I'm trying to turn it over to the young folks and give them some encouragement to do what we did back then. But we saw a need back in the 70s to do something, and we did.
Okay, Mother Moore, what was your take on that?
My take was that back in my day, you could only register to vote when you were 21.
Right.
People have it at 18 now. But at 21, I just couldn't wait to get there. I was in college, and on my 21st birthday, I left college, went home. I was in Sumter, South Carolina, by the way, Margaret College.
Okay.
I went to Hartsville, got on the bus, went to Hartsville, went to the Board of Registration place, and I signed up to vote. That was 71 years ago. I was determined to be a registered voter because my parents were not able to register and vote. My daddy was very concerned about the process, but the very fact that we lived out in the country, plus the men had to pay a poll, what they call a poll tax, do this little literacy test or whatnot. He was never able to do that. And I was always so depressed to hear him talking about not being able to go to vote. So I said, I'm going to vote if that's the last thing I do in my life. But he kept us abreast about how important it was to vote, because they could not do that during slavery time, which he was just on the tail end of. So I got with some more friends of mine whose parents were in the same shape, and we were just talking about the fact that how parents couldn't vote. My daddy had a little radio, a little Philco radio, and he would sit us down around this little radio every day at noon for the news to come on, and he would talk to us about voting, about the war, and stuff like that, and getting us instilled to become a voter. He had a 5th grade education. He probably could have read whatever it was that they had for them to read, but he didn't have the money for the poll tax. And if he had had it, we were so far out in the country that he couldn't have come to town, walk to town to go where they registered you or whatnot. Somebody else has to talk. I have a long story, but
Don't worry, we're gonna get back to you.
I'm saying to the young people, don't stand back. Get out and vote. You might as well still be called a slave if you don't get out and vote. Take the opportunity. Go and take somebody else with you whenever you go. At this particular time, for registration, getting signed up for voting, I was at the poll at 7:00 the Monday before we were supposed to start. I had Gerald and Chip down there with me at the boat. They said, no, Mom, it's not. I said, yes, it is today. But they carried me down there. I was on a blank trip. Next week, they had to go back and take me again. I was at the poll at 7:00 again. Cheryl put that news on her Facebook, and people started texting her back and saying, because of you, Miss Moore, I took my mama, people I didn't even know. I took my mama, my 94-year-old mama, my 95-year-old daddy to the polls. So I've tried all I could to influence as many young people as I can and old people to get out and vote. You might as well be a slave, buried in your grave, and going on home to your Lord if you don't get out and vote.
See, that's why we got you here. We expect something. Questions and statements for you all to address. Okay, so and to our viewers, we're going to make another round, and we'll come back to all of them again. I'd like to ask Miss Mary Skinner Jones if she would leave the studio and then come back in, so that that would correct your mic. Okay, just go ahead and leave the studio and then come back in again. Okay, so Brother Lee Moultrie, all the way down to Charleston. Hey, North Charleston. I take that back.
Yes, North Charleston. Yeah, I would imagine I became more active with voting after I retired. I retired from the Air Force back in '94 after Desert Storm. And it just and I became more active politically back in about 2000 when I came to Georgetown. I was doing some business. They told me to come up to Charleston, North Charleston, and find a House of Representative. And since that point, they've been mentoring me relative to politics, because when you're in the military, you're not as engaged into politics as much.
Right.
So once I got out, then I became more active, and I became more active in all aspects of our community, be it from working at the politics, healthcare, education, economics, everything there is. So I thank God for that opportunity and the mentorship of people like the gentleman, Mr. Lattimore. I'm 64, he's 74, so it's time for him to relax, because I'm about to relax myself. Dues paid, okay? We can pass the baton to the younger folks now, okay?
There you go.
We done paid our dues. So yeah, so it's always been a desire for me to be every place there is, to take the excuse away from anyone in our community, especially the brothers, that we sit to the table and we leverage ourselves to get the information wherever we're at, take it back to the community, be it the household of faith or wherever, that we are being as engaged as possible. And that's when I met Brother Edward and Sister April several years ago up there in where was we were at an event?
It was North Myrtle Beach at an event.
Yeah, so that's where being engaged with one of the people I work with. So it's always been a desire of mine. God has blessed me with Not because I'm from the hood and I moved up to the projects. Okay, so once you make the lateral moves like that, then God blesses you even more.
Okay, man. All right, we're gonna come back to everybody with some more questions that for you to expound on. Brother Kevin Mishu with the window cleaning down in Bucksport. Good.
Well, I guess not having the history that some of my seniors here have, but you know, the understanding the need to be politically involved. My enlightenment came in the late 70s. I was fascinated with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter and 76 was running against, I think, against Gerald Ford. And of course, at that time, I was not old enough to vote. But listening to a peanut farmer, that could become president, and he talked about during his campaign his relationship with African Americans, and you had he was a Caucasian man. For the first time, I saw a genuine outreach to the Black community. But by the time I was able to vote, Jimmy Carter was running against Ronald Reagan. I was in college, South Carolina State, and now I had an opportunity to vote. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way I voted, but it sparked in me at that time, a real desire to get politically involved. Now, I didn't really get as deeply engaged as I am today, but that was the spark for me. I started following our political candidates and listening to the platforms, and saw the importance that if there was ever going to be change in the local community, those goals that were set at the national level had to be articulated down to the local level. And so that's what I'm here tonight about, to talk about how we really need to vote, and then hold our politicians accountable for that vote.
Man, and we're gonna get back to you, Brother Kevin, with some of the things we know that you're doing in Bucksport, and we can expound on them. Okay, so Brother Sam, your
Yes,
rule.
it was, I think in the 60s, 67, Vietnam was hot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those of us who are around, we saw a lot of things going on. I think Conway was hit especially hard. I remember some of the folks that went. And so I was off to college, and my parents kind of instilled in us about voting. It's your privilege. It's your way you can put your vision out there. You can recognize someone who has the same kind of values and ideas that you have. So that you one vote, it makes a difference. My dad was very involved in voter registration. I remember him telling me, I'm going to pick up these senior citizens, because we're seniors now, and we're going to take them to vote. And so he would do that over and over again, and he would talk about it. And I thank God for Whittemore, even though I may have been in Reverend Moore's class of biology, I believe it was, we still heard about voting. And we heard it throughout that campus. So they instilled in us the value, your vote makes a difference. And even now, this show is perfect, because right now, a South Carolinian leading the Judiciary Committee is putting up Amy Barrett to be the Supreme Court Justice forever. And we got issues with health care. The Affordable Care Act, South Carolina's hit hard. You didn't expand Medicaid, so there's so many uninsured. So those votes make a difference in even how close the Senate may be. And so you have to get out, you have to vote, you have to gather those individuals that represent your ideas and concepts. So thank God for Whittemore, Mother Moore, and all those great teachers. Thank God for the family and what my parents instilled in me. So I couldn't wait to register and vote. And we got, and I'll never forget the names and the faces of my classmates who died in Vietnam.
Absolutely, man, and we very much appreciate the beginnings of Mighty Canteen in Conway. From your dad, and you know, he was an entrepreneur himself. And we'll come back to all of this. Thomas Lattimore. You might want to unmute your. Okay, yeah. There you go.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and you know, listening to those who, you know, have already spoken. It's, you know, I guess it's easy to, you know, understand the you know, the incentive and motivation that, you know, so many of our people have already, you know, expressed. And I think every one of us that's on this call understands the importance of voting. And I'm hoping that those who are actually out in the audience, who may be on the fence, who may have decided what would my vote, the difference my vote would make, or which candidate should I vote for if I don't like either one, or any of these other ideas that may surface. And I just want to encourage, you know, those who have not voted, have not participated in the voting process, of how, you know, in this country, you know, you can be a billionaire, but you only have one vote, and you have that opportunity to be able to cast your vote, and your vote is as powerful and equal to that person who may be a billionaire. So it's not, hopefully we live in a country where you can't buy votes. And the importance of this process that I see that we have here today is that it's a great opportunity. And just listening to others who have gone through poll tax and who have been denied the opportunity to vote, and your rights have been taken away from you, and many of our panel guests, you know, may have gone through, you know, some discrimination and other things like that, who have minimized and have taken away that opportunity for you to vote. And sometimes in life, you know, when the door opens, we run for it, and we do that. But when the door has been open for decades now, sometimes it becomes trite. Voting becomes something that you think about, and maybe you would do it if it's convenient for you, and you let that opportunity to go and just say, well, I didn't like either one. I didn't take the time to do that. So for those who are listening, who have not made that call, I want to encourage you, because there's been blood, sweat, and tears that has been put in this process for us, for people of color, to have an opportunity to cast your vote. And as I said, socioeconomic, you're equal to whoever, a Bill Gates, when you cast your vote. And the other thing about what I see in voter suppression, if you took a room and you had 9 people and 2 candidates, well, if you decided not to vote, or 3 decided not to vote, or 4 decided not to vote, then you have empowered the other voters with much more power, because if they don't have to wipe your vote out because you decided not to vote, then their 4 votes is equal to 8 votes because you decided not to participate in it. So if anyone goes to the poll, if anyone casts a vote, then I want to encourage you to get in that same line and cast your vote. Because if you vote for candidate A and I vote for candidate B, then we wipe each other out. Right. And that's okay. So that means that someone else has to come behind us and decide who the winner is. But if you don't show up and you don't cast your vote, then that one person who votes for candidate A can win that election because you decided not to participate. And to me, that's so powerful, that we have an opportunity to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to allow that opportunity to go unused.
So thank you so much, Tom, on that. And before I go any further, Thomas Lattimore is the brother of the late Dennis Lattimore, Dennis was our the Whittemore Community Magazine's health editor. A fantastic job for a number of years, man. I just miss his all of his intellectual output that he used to put in the paper. So thanks, I just wanted to say that, send my appreciation there. So Ms. Mary Jones, seems like you got your mic off now. You ready? We certainly can. Go ahead. Can't hear you now because your mic, you just muted again. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just go ahead and talk.
Can you hear me?
It's back again. What did you do? We can't hear you now because you muted it again. Okay, well, no, can't hear you. Okay, we'll have to come back to you again. Okay, so in the interest, and Mary, we will get back to you. If you want to leave the studio and then come back again, maybe that might resolve the issue. Oh, now you're back on. Now can you talk?
Try it again.
Yeah, go ahead and talk. Go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead.
I can talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I would say my first voting experience was in Columbus, Ohio, in 1965. I graduated from Whittemore, as I said, in 64.
We can hear you.
Can you
Yes.
hear me? I don't understand what's going on with it.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Was in 64. But one of the things I heard, you can hear me? I was thinking about what Caleb said. I thought about the Bible. When Caleb said in the Bible, Caleb was saying that he was too old and leave it to the younger people. I thought about the Bible when the Bible said, when Caleb said he was 85 and he could still do what he used to do. So you need to get on the stick and keep going. And also, Mr. Mishu, in 76, I was in Columbus, Ohio, working on Jimmy Carter's campaign. So that tells you how old I am. But it was about getting involved in voting. And I think it started at a young age. I know I shared a story with Mr. McQueen, with Harold Hughes. He told me the story about how Mr. George William marched 50 of Whittemore students down to the poll to get registered to the vote. So I'm wondering if we could take that same mindset and look at in our underserved communities and go back, bring. I think it's a thing we all have an opportunity. We are older, but we can inspire young people to vote.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Mary. Look, we're going to.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we hear you. You're good. Thank you so much. Have you finished?
Okay.
Okay.
But that was my experience. Go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead. Take your time. Take your time. Okay. We have another in doing this iteration.
No, I was waiting on you. But what?
Okay, we'll get back. Okay, during this iterative process.
But I think
we won't. Okay. Go ahead. You finished? Okay.
No, I didn't know if you wanted me to speak, if you could hear me. But anyway, my involvement with politics, I think it starts when you're young. I got my children were involved in 76 when we were going out in Ohio to register people to vote. I was pulling them in a wagon. So they were exposed to voting from an early age. And I think when they saw like their mom protesting, going to Washington, and I think your kids and young people model themselves after us. And I think one of the things that I have a friend in Ohio, he has a class that he goes into the community and he teaches people about voting. And I look at it this way in terms of everybody on today will vote. everybody that goes to a church, normally church members vote. But there's a segment of the population that we're not reaching. And we just cannot just come back and say, well, it's time to vote. We'll go to the community. We got to maintain that contact continuously. We can't do that.
Absolutely. I think everybody
and be more inclusive ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think everybody can agree on that. Well, thank you so much. We want to continue with the iterative process. So this time we're going to ask the question, and if you can kind of, in the interest of time, just give your brief a brief narrative in addressing this question I'm going to put forth to you. What is the first thing you think the winner of the election should focus on in November? So start with your brother Caleb. You got to unmute yourself, Caleb.
We need to look at trying to work on this COVID-19 situation. I think that's very important. We need to look at the health of our elderly as well as the other folks in the communities, and trying to get something done as far as a vaccine as soon as possible, and more education for these people, because apparently a lot of people out there, either they don't want to listen or they just be ignorant to the fact. But I think we, from the top, we need some very good education coming from the top, our top leadership down to our people, because apparently either they're not doing what they should do, and a lot of people down here is not listening, and that's what we need. As far as the coronavirus, I think we need to take care of that. Then we can take care of everything else later.
Absolutely. I think Aina. All right, Mother Mary Moore.
Well, I'm muted, not you. No, talk. I'm all right. Well, I agree very much with Brother Caleb. We need to get this issue of COVID intact so that we can get our people back in a healthy environment so far as this COVID is concerned. Once we get our health environment, I think our next issue should be the economy.
Yes, thank you so much. Brother Lee.
In order to address everything that the two have said so far, you need to do, it's called the Defense Production Act. And that's what they've been saying from the start, and no one has come back to it. When the president enacts the Defense Production Act, that unleashes all of this money for local city, state, towns, and also for businesses, hospitals, everything there is. Then you have a federal program going also to address masks and anything else that needs to be done. So first, we have to enact the Defense Production Act. That's the number one thing. Funding comes in for businesses, individuals, cities, and states. Those are things that need to be done. And let me throw this one last thing in here, because I know y'all can go. When you talked about the one vote, the governor of Oregon right now, the governor of Oregon, she's only the governor because she won by 7 votes.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Lee. Let's say something that's comparable to that. The late mayor of Loris won. My understanding, won by 1 vote. And somebody can correct me on that if they want to, but I think that's what happened. Mm-hmm. Right in Loris, South Carolina, he won by 1 vote. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Brother Kevin.
Well, I'm sure tonight we all are going to agree that the COVID-19 is going to be the number one issue and challenge. Currently, we have some of the greatest increases in states of the spread of this virus. But at the same time, we got to remember that President Trump has unleashed a moral and integral decline in this country that has divided us as a nation, as a country, more so than any president probably in my lifetime and in the lifetime of most of you. So President Biden, if elected, will have a great challenge to bring us back together. We have seen a ugly underbelly of America that we believe was on the decline. Racial divide is still here, alive and well. So our president is going to have to help heal this country as well as heal from COVID-19.
Okay, thank you so much, man. Brother Sam Root.
Yes. Well, you know, small businesses are the backbone of this economy in the United States. But first of all, I agree with everybody. We got to fix the virus situation. There needs to be national policy from the leadership, wearing the mask, social distance, all those kinds of things. Like it worked in New York, it worked here in Virginia, but we've got to put that in place. And then we got to have a stimulus package to try to aid some of those small businesses. Many of these small businesses are not going to be able to come back unless there's some type of aid to help that so they can hire workers. And so we've got to fix that problem, and we've got to make sure there's a viable vaccine on a timely, and there's a distribution center of that vaccine. We've also got to figure out a way is how do we get those uninsured people? There are 20 million uninsured people in the country now. South Carolina is 500,000 uninsured. So they have no access to health care. So that drives the cost up. So we got to fix those things, have a policy, and then we can talk about recovering and all these things. Because we put everything out of the norm. A lot of the students up here, there's virtual learning is good, but it's nothing like being in that classroom and that social contact with your fellow students and peers. So we've got to have someone who stands up and leads the country.
Okay, all right, Brother Thomas.
Well, I would say, Ed, that's a very loaded question because everyone before me has spoken about the virus. We have a current administration who said it's going to go away, it's going to disappear. We're rounding the corner and everything else. So if a certain administration is reelected, I think that administration would be so emboldened that they don't have to do anything. They have kind of denied or gotten away from the virus, from protecting people, for encouraging people to wear masks and everything else. So if they can win another 4 years with things going, if they're doing everything they can today to win, throwing in the kitchen sink. So if they win without throwing the kitchen sink in, I see this virus could be something that could run on and this current administration, not addressing it at all. I think all of us will say that's the number one, danger that's facing our country, but that's not what this current administration believes. And Sam talked about jobs and everything else, but everything is going downhill because of this virus. There's no question about it. I mean, the economics, the jobs, and everything else is going down. And even a stimulus package, without a cure for the virus, is this money that's being shoveling sand in the wind. It's going to run out. Our country has already added on another $2 trillion, in debt, where the economic, the gross national product is not going up to be able to do enough to pay for the debt. So again, going back again, that's why our people need to vote, because many of us are senior citizens and we're not going to be around to pay off this national debt. It's going to be the generation under us and maybe the generation under him. So for those who are listening, that's at the age of voting, your future depends on what happens on November the 3rd.
Yep.
This is why this election is so important, is that you have a callous current administration who don't care. They don't care about human beings. They don't care about citizens. They don't care about anyone but themselves. And if you allow that administration to win on November the 3rd, then what we're talking about today really, to me, will be insignificant with what will happen on the 4th on through into the future.
All right. Thank you, Brother Thomas. Well said, man. Mary Skinner Jones, I know your mic is not muted now, so you can talk. So after Mary, go to commercial, okay? Just I'll give you a heads up. Okay, you go ahead, Mary. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with everything that everyone has said, but I think part of the problem with this administration, they do not have an infrastructure in place. They do not have qualified cabinet members. If you remember, he never filled all the positions in the government. So there's a lot of positions that's currently open. One thing I could look back at and coming out now, you can see the expertise of the people that was in the previous administration. There have been people in positions that are not even qualified to be in the position. And a good example of that is the doctor that he has on board right now. So I think that the virus is the main thing. We need to educate our people, because a lot of them still think that they don't get it. They can't get it. So I think putting the infrastructure in place to be able to adhere to the needs economically and on the medical field as well, and trying to get the kids back in school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Columbia. Okay, so we're going, if you all would just stay put, we're going to go to a commercial and we'll be right back. Okay.
Do you need to complete your diploma or get your GED? Stop putting your future on hold. Contact the Horry County Adult Education Centers today. With 2 offices in Conway and Myrtle Beach, you'll be well on your way to a new career. The Conway Education Center is at 843-488-6200, or the Myrtle Beach Family Learning Center is at 843-839-5400. You can also visit the website at hcae.horrycountyschools.net. Heating unit not working? Need answers right away? Call Quick Services Heating and Air Conditioning for comfort in a hurry. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC is the right choice for you. Call Kenya and Nina Keith at 843-488-1492. Residential or commercial financing available. You can also visit their website at www.quickserviceshvac.com. That's KWIK serviceshvac.com. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC, the right choice for you. Serving Horry County for over 79 years, Palmetto Chevrolet in downtown Conway has just what you need to find new roads. Come through and browse, make your selection, and find new roads right away. Palmetto Chevrolet, 1122 4th Avenue, downtown Conway. You can also visit palmettochevrolet.com or call the service center at 843-248-4283. Palmetto Chevrolet, find new roads. Matthew and Beatrice Rue left a rich legacy of funeral home services in the capable hands of Atu and Tammy Williams. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services, with 2 chapels serving the Horry County area. They offer full-service funeral and cremation services with no hidden fees. Call for details. The Conway Chapel is 843-248-5376. The Myrtle Beach Chapel is 843-916-8929. They offer affordable, professional, and caring full-service packages. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services.
All right, we're back. Just wanted to, before we continue on, just want to add something to our commercial. And one is that we would be remiss if we didn't mention this, and that is the a food drive that continues to go on. I think it will go on for another 2-3 weeks, right, Brother Kevin, at Bucksport.
That's right. We have another 2 weeks.
Yeah, the food drive student community. I was out there this past Saturday, man. 1,037 boxes of food. Okay. Yeah, that's at the James Fraser Center. Okay. 1,037 boxes of food. So it will continue on for the next 2 weeks, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, and that's true.
That is correct.
And the other thing I'd like to just mention, really would be remiss. Mother Rutilla Great. She is 98 years young. She's a class of 1940 at Whittemore. She graduated 80 years ago.
Wow.
Whoa. And she voted. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up, is that she voted, okay, the other day. All right. 80 years ago, she graduated from high school. All right. So congratulations to her and many blessings, hopefully, to her. So so we're going to continue with our statements and questions. One was, do you believe that either party has a plan for Black Americans? What do you feel should be included in those plans? Should we present an agenda ourselves, which we haven't done? So let's start with Brother Caleb.
Yes, I think that the Biden administration could offer more to the Black community. And I think we as Black folks, we got to be more assertive to make sure it's done. I think that both parties seem to be sort of slack sometime unless you put a boot or both parties pushing behind them. And I think with the Vice President being Ms. Harris, I think she will instill some of the things that we need to be done to help our community as well. And one other thing, before I leave, because I may not get a chance again, thinking of the voting, I want to put my hat off to the former past Doretha Bowens. She was instrumental in helping us over the years, for many years, when she was down with voters registration. When we had obstacles, she would remove those obstacles for us to get the material we need to do the voting, to get the people elected and get people registered and get them to vote. So my hat's off to Ms. Doretha Bowens. She's gone on now, but every time I see Congressman Jim Clyburn, we talk about her because he knows the impact she made in the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, this is going quite really well, I believe, and you all are, conveying some very encouraging words. I just want to commend you as we move on further. Mother Moore. Yeah. So, yes, ma'am. Do you believe that either party has a plan for Black Americans in particular?
Surely. The Democratic Party has a plan for Black America.
Okay.
Do I need to say it twice?
No.
Do I need to say it twice?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know.
Any other no name, no blame.
No name, no blame. Well, all right, we'll leave it right there.
You have to get the message out. If you have to march, if you have to lie down in the streets or whatever it is that you have to do to help to get the message out, we want you to be out there doing that. Or as I heard someone say, we've worked for your generation, the generation after you, and the generation after that. We've got to leave something for these people, our people, to have to catch a hold to. We have to instill in them the fact that we have to work with each other, us, like this, to see if we can. This color, the brown, the tan, and whatever, have some faith and confidence and trust in working with each other to help them to get the program over. They can't do it by themselves. That's why we are voting. We'll be calling many more votes on many more things, but you have to know what's happening. You have to READ.
Absolutely.
You have to watch the TV and the newspapers, the magazines, and whatever, so that you will know what's going on and you will know how to give them the input that will help to get the program over. I am fully confident that on next Wednesday morning, after I voted October the 5th, this past October the 5th, that we will have a new president and vice president, and that they will do what they said they are going to do with our help. Seek ye first. So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And all other blessings will be added. That's why I said it about, COVID. You get my health and strength back in place. Then you can work on putting something in the pocketbook. All the things, the jobs and the infrastructure and the this structure, that those things are going to come. Those are the other blessings that will be added to what we are going to be able to see them accomplish and help them accomplish.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that narrative. Brother Lee, I know you're waiting, man. You've got something to say. Go ahead.
Brother, normally when I have people say about the Black community, then I ask, who are your local elected officials that you're working with? And then when you tell me whether you know them or not, then I said, have you spoken with the Congressional Black Caucus to find out what initiatives that they have on the table relative to the Black community? So, and then we can go up to the president. But then we working local, state, national level to do this. We're not doing ad hoc things. And that's why we're at the table now, because we're at the table now for policy change. That's what we're doing now. And as we're working in our precincts, that we're at the table for policy. We're not just coming up there and say, I'm ready to eat. Everything is done, but I want to eat now. No, you have to establish relationships, leverage yourselves in order to be a part and to know the process. As Obama said the other day, you're going to vote. You're not going to get everything you want this time. You're going to vote again and you're going to get a little bit more, but it takes time. You can't just say, I want everything right now or I'm going someplace else. It don't work like that, people.
No, it doesn't.
All right. North Charleston there. Okay. Brother Kevin.
Work like that, people. I'm going to have to confer with all the, these intelligent people you have on this interview tonight. Each politician comes out with a plan, and we got to be careful, because we'll be promised more than give us. The Biden administration, there's the live every voice plan. Trump has the platinum plan.
Can you get closer to the mic, Brother Kevin? Can you get closer to the mic? You kind of
okay. Okay. I was talking about various things about. Am I sounding a little here?
Do you have any noise in the background? Anything playing in the background?
You want to let me?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Just come a little closer. I guess.
Okay. Well,
better save a move.
Some of our celebrities have
Let me ask Mother Mary if you can mute your mic.
Okay. Sorry. I had to go. The battery is going. The battery is going.
You're excused in advance. Okay, go ahead, Brother Kevin. Yeah, okay.
Okay. As I was saying, it is so important that we hold our politicians accountable. There is more than just a one step to voting. You know, probably voting has been the most hard fought for right for African Americans in history. And what I admired so much is I took a look at the platforms that and the organizations of the 1965 and 64 voting era. There was an organized effort to not only put forth an agenda, but hold our politicians accountable to an agenda. And the people on this panel tonight, they were a part of that. I noticed that in that time, John Lewis was 25 years of age when he led 600 people across the Edison Bridge and what we now know as Bloody Sunday. And and when I looked back, I saw the youth heavily involved. When John Lewis talked about the trouble, you saw 13, 14, 15-year-old individuals going to jail, but they were understanding and exercising political process. We are missing that today. Our youth are not as heavily engaged and is not as informed about the issue. We got to get back to a grassroots program that get them involved, get them educated. The formula has already been set for. All we have to look at is look at Snook. Look at the Southern Leadership Christian Council. These people have left a pattern of how to set an agenda, exercise an agenda, and hold the agenda accountable. That's what we're talking about. Mr. Lee said something national, state, and local involvement. Change should come from the bottom up, not from the top down. And that's what we got to push behind this vote. The vote
Absolutely.
It begins on November 4th.
Yep.
When it's time to push the things forward. So yes, there are plans out there. But just like we would have to hold the Trump administration and anyone else, we would have to hold the Biden administration to their promises.
All right, thanks so much, man. Look, Brother Sam, before we get to you, we have to go with just a little slight commercial, okay? Is that okay? We're coming back to you with the same question that the plan for Black Americans, okay? All right, so we'll be right back.
Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham, and Tom Rice say we're living in the greatest economy of all time. Well, they're just out of touch with what most people are facing today. In our area, pay is often so low, many people have to work 2-3 jobs, sometimes just to make ends meet. They're lining up at food pantries just to get enough to eat for themselves and their families. Democrats understand that and will work to make things better. That's why they should have your vote. Learn more at OrieDemocrats.org, paid by the Horry County Democratic Party.
All right, we're back, man. That was just a quick commercial we had to get into there. Brother Sam.
Okay, yeah, I think that the Biden and Harris campaign has ideas that's going to really benefit Black people of color. Biden has even talked about historically Black colleges and universities, how he's going to infuse resources into them because they play such an important role in this economy, because education is absolutely a big key. But the other part of that is that we have to get out and vote. We've got to change the leadership in Congress. And so I'm so glad and happy about, hopefully I'll be celebrating on the Graham and Harrison campaign. But I think we have to get out and do our part. Someone mentioned you got to hold them accountable, but I think he's willing to listen to the right folk that talk about what does it take to make a difference in this country. he recognizes the disparity in healthcare. He recognizes the inequality in income, where Black people of color have not had the opportunity, whereas some do and some don't. And so there need to be tax issues, things like Medicare, not Medicare for all, but some kind of programs of that nature. So I believe that he's focused on that. And the other thing about Biden, I believe, is he's spiritually and morally fit to be president. And I believe that definitely that he's going to make a difference. He's going to listen and work to change things for Blacks in America.
All right. Okay. All right, man. Brother Thomas Latimer. Unmute yourself there, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think the question is a very profound question, and is whether or not any party has a plan for us. And my take on that is maybe completely different. You know, I think for one that, you know, our votes, you know, have been basically taken for granted, where there may be promises that you know may have not been fulfilled. And the other party has probably made a decision that we can win without you, and so therefore we're in between, you know, that rock and the hard place. But someone had said earlier, you know, the police brutality, some of the things that are happening, they're not happening in Washington from the top to the bottom. They're happening in our communities, in our different counties, whether or not it's Mecklenburg County, whether or not it's Horry County, wherever it may be. And to me, it's so vitally important, you know, that we really concentrate on local election. You know, who is the mayor? You know, who's the police chief? Who's the city council? Who's the county commissioner? You know, these are places that we can make a difference in our own neighborhoods, our own communities, our own counties, in our own state. When it gets to the point of the national ticket as to what happens for, you know, a party to get, you know, enough electoral votes to win, and whether or not that's going to be something that's going to come down to us or not, I'm not really sure. And I said, I want to say this because someone was talking about our young people, whether or not they, you know, they would vote or not. And I said, it saddens me to the point of tears that, you know, for the Republican Party, I say they bring up abortion for the election. Pro-life is what they call it. And I said, on November the 3rd, on November the 4th, you won't hear anything else about pro-life until 4 years later. And so we still have that process, you know, to work through. And then it's one with the other party. We're going to help you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to provide health insurance for you. And we're going to do all these other things for you also. So, I mean, it's almost like one is saying, you know, you vote for me and we will have pro-life. The other person is saying, you vote for me and you're going to have health insurance and you're going to have this and you're going to have that. I don't know whether any of this is true or not. And I would say this from a spiritual point of view. I want to participate in the election process, but the scripture says my help come from the hill. So I mean, as much as I've already voted, my family has already voted, but if we are looking for man to cure the ills of our communities and our states and our nation, that's not where it's going to be. So I mean, I don't want to turn this into a Bible class, but I don't want to go to the point of believing that November the 3rd is going to cure the problems that we face in America today or tomorrow.
Okay, brother, you're not deviating when you speak divinely like that. You know, it's all relevant. Okay, so all right, Mary Skinner Jones. Mary Skinner Jones.
Well, when he was discussing it, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just go ahead and talk. Well, now you can't. You know, you've muted yourself now. I don't know what happened. It's showing that you're muted now. You're muted. Okay, now you're back on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. Just leave everything else alone. Just go ahead and talk.
Okay. Said when he was talking about the biblical aspects of where we are, the Bible also says if you don't work, you don't eat. I think one of the things that has happened with us, we're looking at both parties and saying, what are they going to do for us? What are we doing for ourselves? How did we create Black Wall Street? And we could take it home even further. Look at 378. We had black business, we had a cleaners, we had a theater, we had a drugstore, we had a doctor, we had a service station. So it's like, what are we doing for ourselves? It's the Black agenda should start with us. And I remember in 1972, I was the first Black political caucus in Gary, Indiana. And there was a speech delivered by Jesse Jackson. At the end of the speech, he said, Black people are like a woman that's in labor. There's no one there to deliver the baby, so we got to deliver the baby ourselves. So we look at the Black agenda, but my question is, what is our agenda? We can look at some of the young people who are going back and investing in the community, like T.I. building houses in lots. You got LeBron James. So you got a lot of people doing a lot of things. And one of the questions I'm always asking, especially you're getting it from seasoned seniors when they said Black Life Matters. And it does, because my son is very involved in it. But the question becomes, all Black Life Matter. Does it not matter when we killing each other? So those are some of the questions we got to deal with within our own community. We have a Black agenda. We letting somebody else describe and tell us what we need. We need to go back, like I said, reconnect with our community and have an agenda for economic development, human service programs. And before there was any grants that we got, the church took care of the community. We're really kind of disconnected. So we need to do a paradigm shift for our minds in terms of developing Black businesses. So the Black agenda is fine, but until we have a paradigm shift in our way of thinking, nothing will change, because if it was, you could go back and look at when they put all that money in the empowerment zone. Opportunity zones is nothing new, because we had the empowerment zones. We had this years ago, you could go to college free. We didn't take advantage of it. They got mad at the Indians and the Chinese coming over to this country, taking advantage of it. So some things we got to have a paradigm shift in our thinking too. That's maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I know that's how I feel.
Obviously, you must have hit some nerve. Some of the comments. Some of the comments here really reflect that.
No, I was looking at, I was looking at the fact of police brutality. I think police maybe kill, 1% or 0.1%. How many are we killing? Are we saying anything about that? I mean, though that should be a major Black agenda too, just like the virus. Because when one kid kills somebody, he's killing two, because he's going into prison too. I had a friend that was a judge told me that when you kill one, you kill two.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. That can be looked at in a lot of different ways. One is potential taxpayer. If you really want to get down to the economics of it, both of them. Okay, so
I look at 50 Cent.
Well, and everybody loses. Okay, everybody loses when those kind of things happen. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, we're getting on. We want to kind of let's wrap this up at about 8:30. But I do want to get some final remarks from everybody. Hey, this has been great. Okay, I mean you've conveyed some information that, and I'm glad I got such a regional diversity here. To kind of spread the word out and let the people know how strongly you are with the desire to vote. So I really appreciate that. But during these last few minutes, I'd like to try to get some final remarks from each of you, it can be referencing anything as long as it's part of the voting process and what you want to say. If you make it rather brief, I would appreciate it. Okay, so brother, I'm sorry, brother Caleb, if we can get some final remarks from you.
Did you get Kevin?
Yeah, yes, I said.
You already got him?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'd say to the areas is that I encourage the young folks to get out and do what we used to do, and work hard to get people to the polls. Those who can't get there, help them get there. And even for the seniors, if we have some transportation available, we need to help transport those folks to the polls. And now my wife and I have already voted, but I'm always available. But I would encourage the people from my area as well as other areas to please go out and vote. It's very important that you do that. That's my last word. Go out and vote.
Yeah, well said, brother.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody's going to hit on that particular theme. Mother Mary, you can unmute your mic.
Her picture went off.
The second last word is go out and vote if you haven't already. Good night. I enjoyed being with all of you.
Okay, well, you couldn't see your face. I'd love to see your lovely face when you said good night, but.
Good night.
Okay. Yes, I see it now.
Did you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they heard.
And we know beauty when we see it.
Good night.
Good night to you. Brother Lee, get some last remarks from you, okay?
Good night.
We're going to hear some last remarks from you.
Everyone to see this book right here, The Color of Law.
Yes, sir.
The Color of Law. I will send you this right here. This is dealing with policy. As we move, this book was written in 2018, 2017, 2018. I'll send it to you. But when we're looking, it says a forgotten history on how the government segregated America. As we go to vote now, these are some of the policies we can use. I will email it to everyone that's on the link that April sent to us earlier. Thank you for the opportunity to be on here, brother. And all of you.
Hey, you're welcome at any time, Lee. Okay, Brother Sam, good to have you on here, man.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Ed McQueen and April and the Whittemore Community Magazine. This is a great opportunity. Thank you for the vision, the leadership. But everybody has a vision. Everybody has their voice, and through voting is how you recognize that. You got to hold your local officials accountable, state officials, and at the national level. Get involved in your community. Thank you a lot for what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
God bless everybody.
Sir.
Great to see everyone.
Brother Thomas.
Well, thank you again, Ed, and for all those who have made this occasion possible. And again, for those who are listeners, I just want to take the time again to just encourage you to vote, to use a power that was bought with blood, sweat, and tears for us to have that opportunity to exercise that. If you decide not to, it's generations before you who were lynched and murdered and disenfranchised for us to have that right. So just on their behalf, take the time, whether or not you can do an absentee ballot or however in the county you're in that you can do it, please participate, go and vote and be proud of yourself on what you have done. And I would just say, get online or do something, educate yourself on who's running for office, know what their platform is, what the policies are, and everything else, so that when you go into that voting booth, you won't just look at a name and say, oh, M, I think I'll vote for someone named who starts with M. Have some knowledge and educate yourself when you do that, but do that by November the 3rd. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope all is well up there in Charlotte. Mayor Skinner Jones,
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this panel and to have the vision to share with the community that we're facing currently. I ditto with everything that previous panel members have said. I also feel that we need to look at politician track record. Just don't come and tell me what you're going to do. Let me see what you have done previously. And we should not just look at people just of color to get in office. Don't do anything. We should weigh everything out and look at previous track records and what they have done, and us to continuously get involved and get involved even more. Let this be, we looking at this as the most everything negative, but one thing 45 did, he drove us to the polls.
Number 45. You talking about? Yeah. 45 is a reference to our current president.
Right on.
That's all I can say about that. I needed to explain that to our viewers.
So that's
45. So. Okay, well, thank you so much.
45 did it, we thank you for driving.
Okay, thank you so much. Brother Kevin?
Just like panel has already said, so many people inside of our life, we should hope that our life, and it's so important. Echo what Latimer said. Our change is in our town ballot. We need to learn who is affecting our community. Because they affect everything from your drinking water to the roof on the top of your house. So let's be educated voters, let's be involved voters, and most of all, let's be loyal voters to our community. So, and we thank you very much for the platform in which
to all of you, anytime that you want to bring your issues on and come on to the Whittemore Community Magazine broadcast, just let us know. You have our numbers. The magazine, all of you get the magazine, I believe, and just we got to keep this. Got to keep communication open, okay? And keep this. Just want to run this by you. I just got word that Amy Barrett was just confirmed as the new Supreme Court Justice. Okay, just thought I'd run that by you.
That's motivation enough for people to understand the vote.
I thought I'd run that by you.
You got to get out and vote.
Voting has come.
There we go.
Well, that's the way it was. So let's, we're at the end of our program, and certainly again we want to thank you all.
Let's hope she has a heart.
Well,
yeah.
If she follows the Constitution correctly, she might very well have that heart. Okay, no deviations. That's all I can say about that. So. My appreciation to all of you on behalf of April, who's not being shown here, but believe me, she's behind the scenes. Okay?
Yeah,
she's behind the scenes behind this.
Thank you, April, for all you do.
Thank you.
So many thanks to April and all of our guests. Thank you all again, and hopefully you all can tune in next week. Next week, by the way, we're going to have a review of the successful summer enrichment program that was run by April, Ms. Margie McIver, Joella, Ms. Marlo Frazier, and Ms. Dana. And if I miss out anybody, I'm sorry. But it was such a successful thing, and in fact, that was the cover page on our last magazine that you all got. Okay, we sent them to either by email or some of you have hard copies, but that was on the cover sheet. It was such a success, and we're really proud of that. and proud of the people who mentored it, our young people there. Just give you an overview of that. I'm going to let you go. We had some pretty close to 38 students, I believe, that it was like a summer job, really, but it was a summer enrichment program in lieu of a summer job, because we just couldn't facilitate the summer job as usual that we've been doing for the past 5 or 6 years. So that took the place, and again, my kudos go out to Ms. McIver, April, Ms. Marlo Frazier, Joella, and others who I if I fail to name. Okay, so to our viewers, and thank you all. We'll see you next week, 7 p.m. same time, right here.
Thank you, Brother Edward.
Did someone say something? Okay.
I said thank you, Brother Edward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Ed.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
God bless everybody. God bless.
God bless everyone.